You are listening to Unravel with Natalie Denise.
Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to episode 100 of Unravel with Natalie Denise, segmented off. This is Nightly with Natalie with news from the Daily Traffic, my alternative human trafficking news platform that I made myself. And boy, do we have a lot to cover today. I was like, man, all these stories just today. But as you guys know, nobody talks about this, which is why, as you guys probably have observed, I am kind of just veering off into this fully for the podcast, because I just feel like, I have a main platform on YouTube, youtube.com/Natalie Denise. Hey, Keem, thank you so much again for moderating for me today. I really appreciate you. But yes, as you guys know, I do have a mainstream platform called YouTube, Natalie Denise on YouTube, youtube.com/Natalie Denise. That's where you can find me, where I'm going to start commenting more on pop culture and mixing that into some of the key stories going on, with the Ukraine stuff and the Russia stuff. But I feel like the celebrities need to have some sort of visibility, because sometimes they're saying things like Kanye West is saying things between the lines about the industry that I feel like I need to keep my eye on. But with that being said, this podcast is morphing more full-time into reporting on sexual exploitation, exploiting human beings, exploiting children. These are stories that need to be talked about, and they need fuller time. So I think you guys appreciate that anyway. So I really appreciate all your support so much. By the way, you guys want to check out as well nataliedenise.com, where I have started a new video platform. I have tried many other ones in the past, and this is probably the best one to stick to. And, this is where I can own my own videos. I don't have to play by guidelines and censor myself. So if you guys are interested in that, I have an $8 a month support. You can go to nataliedenise.com. You can support me there. I'll also probably make a Muchachos y Muchachas club, where if you guys just want to support me and not necessarily watch videos, you can probably support me with like $1.50 a month. So I'll probably make that membership as well. And I will start putting those patrons at the end of my videos on YouTube, as well as here on my podcast. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. Thank you guys again so much for your support. I really, really do appreciate it. Okay. What's going on in the world today? So there have been 10 men that were arrested over in the European area. It's UK and Romania. Arrest in Luton and Romania. This is reported from the BBC. More than a dozen men have been arrested on suspicion of running a exploitation ring between Romania and the UK. 7 properties in Luton were raided on Tuesday morning by Bedfordshire police as part of a coordinated international operation. It was believed women from Romania were being groomed and forced into the trade in England or Scotland. A number of potential victims have been identified, the force said. A detective chief inspector, Katie Dunyas, said that the raids were the latest stage of a lengthy investigation into a criminal group suspected of preying on vulnerable young women. 10 men aged in their 20s and 30s were arrested in Luton on suspicion of conspiracy to traffic for the purpose of exploitation and trade, and paying for exploitive services of someone subjected to force. A further 4 were apprehended after raids of 11 addresses in Romania, with firearms, cash, and drugs also seized, Bedfordshire police said. The operation involved more than 100 Bedfordshire officers, as well as police from Europol, Eurojust, and Romania. 4 women who were believed to have been trafficked into the UK were safeguarded and supported by specially trained officers and charities, right? And anytime I do have international stories, I will share them with you guys. They're just not reported as much as the American stories, but I will definitely keep my eye out for more of these international busts and raids, because I know that people are listening to me from all across the globe, which is pretty cool. So thank you guys for your support, and I really appreciate you guys listening in. This next story is coming from justice.gov. Justice.gov reports in the Arkansas area. But this guy is from Alabama. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. No, he's not. He's from Arkansas. Just kidding. So this was reported today by justice.gov, the DOJ. The jury finds a Little Rock man guilty of sex trafficking, distribution, and production of child pornography. A Little Rock man has been convicted of 4 sex offenses at the conclusion of a 3-day trial, and a federal jury found Kashawn Boykins, 27 years old, guilty on all 4 counts for which he was indicted. 2 counts of sex trafficking, distribution of child pornography, and production of child pornography. The jury returned their verdict this afternoon after deliberating for just under 3 hours. United States Judge James M. Moody Jr. presided over the trial, and Judge Moody will sentence Boykins at a later date. This defendant physically abused his victims in order to maintain control over them and profit from their sexual acts he forced them to perform, said Jonathan D. Ross, United States Attorney for the Eastern District of Arkansas. Today's verdict sends a clear message to those who engage in these violent acts. You will be caught and you will be prosecuted to the fullest extent available to us under federal law. Testimony during the trial established that in October of 2018, a 19-year-old female identified as H.E. notified employees at Walmart in Maumelle, Arkansas, that she needed to escape from the man she was with. The employees contacted police, and H.E., the girl, told law enforcement she had met Boykins 5 days earlier with exchanged numbers. H.E., the girl, had been kicked out of her parents' home. And Boykins offered her to live with him. Okay, pause, right? We always park it when there's an educational piece in these. So you guys see, if I'm going to kind of pop quiz you guys in the comments here. You guys see now what tactic this is being used within this guy targeting this girl. So he is targeting her vulnerabilities in this case. And I always repeat this when it does present itself, that a lot of these victims come from very vulnerable backgrounds, broken families, broken situations, financial situations. And so there we go. Very good. The Only Warmly. I'm so proud of you guys. I feel like a professor and you guys are my class. I really appreciate you guys. I love that you guys learn. But yes, this is a form of Romeo pimping. Really, really good. I love that. The Only Warmly he replied. That's so good. But this is a form of Romeo pimping. It is a form of targeting their vulnerabilities. So when they are down, when they have necessities to be met, bills to be paid, and sometimes these guys will come in, they'll Romeo them, love bomb them. We went through that extensively yesterday in our podcast, where they target. Oh, you need this? Don't worry. I always have you, no matter what. It's you and me forever. It's that type of stuff that's just like very fairy tale, very too good to be true. And it ends up being too good to be true. There has to be like a balance within the gifting. Gifting is, and I also want to make this clarification. I've had this come up before where, there was a man who was learning about this, was giving him the terms. I was like, this is what happens. It's called love bombing, blah, blah, blah. And he was very concerned. He was like, well, what's the difference between love bombing and genuine gifting? Because I I would like to buy, why my woman flowers or gifts. And it's not like that. There's an intent behind it, right? So if your intent is genuine, like you're showering your other half with gifts or with, affection and, you just want to show them tokens of love like that. It depends on your intent behind it. What is your motivation, right? If your motivation is to manipulate them, trick them, and get them to another goal that is more malicious and nefarious, then yes, that is love bombing. Love bombing, I know that has come up as a concern before, but know that there underlies an intent behind it. So let's continue. When H.E. arrived at Boykin's apartment, she learned that he was living with a 17-year-old female identified as TM, an adult woman, and others. The defendant made a profile for H.E. on an online dating website. 2 days after moving in, the defendant told H.E. she had 2 dinners to attend. TM had already told H.E. that these dates meant H.E. would be expected to have sex for money. H.E., the girl, testified at trial that when she told Boykin she didn't want to go, he threw her on the floor, choked her, and continued to physically abuse her. H.E. escaped during a trip to Walmart the following day. TM, the 17-year-old girl that was found in the house, testified at trial that the defendant used an online dating website to arrange dates for her. What would we say what dates were yesterday? Dates are not what it sounds like. Dates are not, let's go to dinner and have a date. No, dates in the trade life, in the life, it means that they're going out on transaction, right? So they're exchanging money for a sexual interaction with the John. A John is a purchaser of that, right? So when you hear dates, that means that they are going out on a sexual transaction. So, the girl testified at trial that the defendant used an online dating website to arrange dates for her, and that if she came back with less money that Boykins expected, he would hit her. He never allowed her to keep any of the money, and due to her repeated attempts to leave, he routinely physically abused her. Evidence at trial indicated that Boykin's phone contained multiple messages in which he arranged dates for both TM and HE. He sent sexually explicit photos of both TM and HE while attempting to set up dates. The photos of TM, taken when she was a minor, led to Boykin's conviction in the child pornography charges. Mr. Boykins produced child sexual abuse material and lured a vulnerable minor into the reprehensible world of sex trafficking, said FBI Little Rock special agent in charge, James A. Dawson. His abominable actions highlight the pervasive and a threat Arkansas children and families face on a daily basis. FBI Little Rock will continue to work with our local police partners and federal prosecutors to protect our communities from vile child predators. The statutory penalty for sex trafficking ranges from not less than 15 years imprisonment up to life imprisonment. The statutory penalty for distribution of child pornography is not less than 5 years and not more than 20 years imprisonment. The statutory penalty for production of child pornography is not less than 15 years imprisonment and not more than 30 years imprisonment. All offenses, if conviction, include a potential penalty, if not more than $250,000 fine, and not less than 5 years of supervised release. Wow. And actually, what's worth noting, Kashawn Boykins, it doesn't mention it here, but let me just do a quick search. And yeah, I know I'm going to use Google, but only because it'll pop up a lot faster. Here we go. So this is a boxer. He's like a local boxer in Arkansas. I don't know why they won't show his face. Let's just try this one more time. Okay, here we go. This is a boxer in Arkansas. So just FYI, they don't say it in the justice.gov document, but this is a local boxer in Arkansas. All right. So continued on. This is coming from Town Talk, where this is Alexandria. I think this is in, well, it says Florida. So it might be Florida, Louisiana area. Alexandria man arrested on 100 counts of first-degree rape. Bail for an Alexandria man arrested of 100 counts of first-degree rape, among other charges, has been set to almost $6 million. The Rapids Parish Sheriff's Department said Wednesday that Israel Jermaine Williams, 38, became a suspect after it was contacted last summer by Pensacola, Florida Police Department about possible sex trafficking of a juvenile. Williams was arrested after a lengthy investigation, which included assistance of the Children's Advocacy Center in Louisiana, the Louisiana Department of Child and Family Services, the Alexandria Police Department, and the SENLA Child Trafficking Task Force reads a release. Williams was booked into the Rapids Parish Detention Center, number 1 on warrants, on March 25th. In addition to the rape charges, he was also arrested on 2 counts of molestation of a juvenile younger than 13, so a child, 1 count of obstruction of justice, 1 count of issuing worthless checks, and 1 count of contempt in court. The contempt charge stems from Williams failing to show for March 4th arraignment. Williams had been arrested March 2021 on 2 counts of simple kidnapping, but was formally charged with 2 misdemeanor charges of contributing to the delinquency of a child. On Wednesday, 9th Judicial District Court Judge Chris Hazel granted a motion Williams filed for an attorney. Online records, which do not state who has been appointed to represent Williams, will show him facing 101 counts of first-degree rape. He remains in jail with a bail set at $5,453,000. So 100 counts of rape. Insanity. All right. Oh, right. So this is coming from, see how little these stories are, but these details are super, super big time news. This is coming from KRDO, where the headline reads, active duty Army soldier under arrest for sexual exploitation of a child. Look how short this article is. Are you kidding me? At least we're getting a piece of information, a bit of information, but this is incredible how small the detail gives us. Colorado Springs police say that they have an active duty Army soldier under arrest for suspected sexual exploitation of a child. Police say that they believe Jay Stump, 25, has been using a cloud-based software to distribute child sexual abuse material. CSAM is the acronym. Sometimes it's also by acronym CSM, so child sexual material, but the proper acronym is child sexual abuse material. The Colorado Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force began investigating Stump in August of 2021 after receiving a time from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Colorado Springs Police, ICAC detectives, and U.S. Army Criminal Investigation Division worked together to identify Stump as the suspect. On Tuesday, March 29th, CSPD ICAC unit searched Stump's home on the 1600 block of Chapel Hills Drive, where he was taken into custody. The story is developing. Check back for updates. So I guess this was a very fresh story. I'm just going to give it the benefit of the doubt, although this was published at 6 a.m. this morning. So we'll have to check back tomorrow and see if there's maybe more details that are published about that incident. All right. And the next story coming from Boston.com, a Marlborough man pleads guilty to 13 counts of child sexual exploitation. A Marlborough man pleaded guilty in federal court in Boston Wednesday to child exploitation offenses, the Massachusetts U.S. Attorney's Office announced. Philip Raymond pleaded guilty to 13 counts of attempted and committed child sexual exploitation, officials said. Raymond was arrested and charged in October of 2020 and was remained in federal custody ever since, the U.S. Attorney's Office said. According to U.S. Attorney Office, between 2004 and 2012, Raymond produced or attempted to produce child pornography involving 13 different children. 13. 13. Between 2004 and 2012, Raymond produced or attempted to produce child pornography involving 13 different children. A search of Raymond's home in 2019 resulted in the seizure of various digital devices containing evidence that Raymond had filmed his sexual abuse of 2 of those children, officials said. The digital evidence also showed that Raymond had set up a recording device in his child's room and is in his home's bathroom in an attempt to record images of the children in nude, officials said. In total, Raymond recorded 13 different children, the U.S. Attorney's Office said. Raymond is also facing charges in Middlesex Superior Court for child rape, as well as possession of other child pornography discovered in the search of his residence. The charging statute in these cases remains a minimum mandatory sentence of 15 years and up to 30 years in prison per count, as well as at least 5 years, at least 5 years and up to a lifetime of a supervised release and fine of $250,000. U.S. District Court Judge Richard Stearns scheduled Raymond's sentencing for August 17th. Again, you wouldn't hear about it unless there's something dedicated like this. This is like I want you guys to notice that I'm using local articles. Like, these are all pertaining to each one's, state or city. It's insane that nobody will ever know about this unless there's a random reader on these local newspapers or news sites, and they happen to catch this story. All right, the next story is coming from KWTX. San Antonio. A San Antonio man sentenced to 30 years for sexual exploitation of a child. A San Antonio man has been sentenced to 30 years in prison for sexual exploitation of a minor. Daniel Visa, 39, coerced a minor or a child in self-producing videos showing the child engaging in sexually explicit conduct using an online social media platform. Vesa also forced the child to engage in sex acts with him over a 2-year period. On November 19, 2021, Vesa pleaded guilty to 1 count of production of child pornography in order to pay $50,000 in restitution to the victim, and serve a lifetime of supervised release. The FBI, along with invaluable assistance from the Bexar County Sheriff's Office, investigated the case. Okay, I want to hone in on this little piece right here, restitution. This is one rarity that one rarity in these articles that I very rarely see. Restitution. So restitution should be given to these victims a lot more often than we see. I very rarely see this in articles where the victim is given this. It's basically like a reparation, but for, sex traffic survivors, because, I go through countless stories where I point out, the costliness of rehabilitating, counseling, housing, clothing, feeding sex traffic survivors. But on top of all those minimal costs, on top of that, they have to fix ongoing trauma, ongoing medical issues that might have been caused from their day in the life. So this is really important for a sex traffic victim to get, because this is something that they will also need for their future. Now, this is a start, but honestly, it's going to take a lot more than that to repair the damage that has been done to them. All right, the next story coming from valleycentral.com. A Brownsville man imprisoned for exploiting a 4-year-old boy. And this is from Texas, Rio Grande Valley, the RGV area. A federal judge has sentenced a man to spend over a decade in prison for sexually exploiting a 4-year-old boy. On Wednesday, Marcos Gomez, 21, was sentenced to 16 years in federal prison after pleading guilty to sexually exploiting a child and possessing child pornography. Gomez was arrested July 2020 after an investigation revealed he possessed hundreds of files of child pornography, according to court documents. When authorities contacted Gomez, he admitted to enticing a 4-year-old boy to perform a sexual act on him. The indictments took place June 2020, according to court records. The victim's mother testified in court about the pain and sadness brought on by Gomez's abuse. Gomez pleaded not guilty to the charge initially. However, in October of 2021, he pleaded guilty to the charge. Gomez was sentenced on Wednesday and will serve 30 years of supervised release upon the end of a 16-year prison sentence. He will also be required to register as a sex offender. The Rio Grande Valley Child Exploitation Investigations Task Force contributed to the investigation. I can't even imagine what else is going on in the RGV. The RGV stands for the Rio Grande Valley area because of obviously the border, obviously the influx. It was just also reported today that Biden is going to relax. What is he going to relax? Biden will drop here. I'll actually drop this here. This is a good, actually a good mention here because it has everything to do with exploitation and the border and all this. But Biden will drop Title 42 border restrictions on May 23rd. U.S. faces a mass migrant event where crossings could triple when Cocoa Puff restrictions are lifted. The Biden administration plans to finally end the Trump-era policy that allowed the instant expulsion of asylum seekers and other migrants at the U.S. southern border on May 23rd. To be honest with you, completely honest, I have no idea when they were actually implementing this, because even when this was implemented within the Biden administration, there were still migrants coming over. There were still undocumented children coming over. So I have no idea where this was even effective. But this is going to send a message to the rest of the world that they can just willfully come into this country. So this is very scary. The White House admitted there will be an influx. So the White House has admitted this, that there will be an influx of border crossers after officials told Reuters that the Trump-era COCO restrictions were coming to an end in 7 weeks to allow law enforcement and immigration agencies to prepare. The delayed effective date of the title to end Title 42 would give U.S. border authorities time to plan for its end, the official said. Immigration groups have been pushing for an end to Title 42. Of course they would. Of course. Because these are all these people are not like true to the law groups. These people are backed by NGOs and funded by NGOs. And those NGOs get their funding from big money, dark money. Of course, they want them to end Title 42. So immigration groups have been pushing for an end to Title 42, which was enacted by former President Donald Trump, but was continued and upheld in court by Biden. The order was put in place March 2020 at the onset of the planned apocalypse as the spread of the Cocoa 19, ran rampant at the crowded border facilities. Since then, more than 1 million migrants apprehended at the border have been rapidly expelled to Mexico and other countries, often within hours of being caught under Title 42. Where? Really? They were? That would be surprising if this is true. The sweeping planned-apocalypse-related expulsion policy has been effectively closed down by the U.S. asylum system at the border with Mexico as officials don't try to hear asylum claims under Title 42. This has led Democrats, medical experts, immigration advocates, and United Nations to urge the U.S. to end the Cocoa Puffs era rule. So then they're saying Republicans are arguing that ending Title 42. I mean, look, there's so much fault in both parties, right? Especially in this whole the real pandemic, it being that that people are being exploited. But I also blame I also blame well, you guys know that a lot of the Republicans that are in office are not really Republicans. Um, yeah, I know that this gets a little bit political, but I am who I am. I'm gonna say what's on my mind. But those that are fake in office who go against everything that they campaign for, everything that they promise, this is their fault too. There are a sprinkle of good candidate, still good elected officials in there, like peppered in, but they don't have enough power just with themselves to make any changes or put any stops to anything. They can have a loud voice, they can be um, you know, boisterous about these topics, but that doesn't mean that they have the power in numbers, right? Uh anyway, with that being said, thank you guys so much for all of your support. Be sure to check out nataliedenise.com, where I'm going to put a lot more content there. That's where you're going to be able to support me more there. So I do appreciate you guys. Thank you all so much for your support. I will catch you guys in tomorrow's episode. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Unravel with Natalie Denise. Please give this podcast 5 stars.